Königssee in Bavaria, the oldest ice track in the planet, and we are here for race 6 of the BMW IBSF 4-man Bobsleigh World Cup. Hello everybody, welcome back to Bavaria. I'm Martin Haven, alongside me John Morgan, as we get ready for the deciding heat in this 6th round of the series. What a race we've got in prospect after a thrilling first heat.
Well, the leaderboard, top two Germans, but this Russian Alexei Stilnev, 4th in the two-man yesterday, 4th and 5th in 2 other previous weekends, his best finishes ever in the World Cup Tour. He's emerging as the #1 Russian star, and he's got a decent start time, and he could challenge for his first ever World Cup medal, but he's gonna have to chase down a couple Germans. Nico Walter had the best start time in the first run. Very surprised with that. And this Nico's had a very frustrating season. He would really come out of the doldrums with a medal here in Königssee, but they're chasing down Johannes Lochner. Well, all he's done is won 4 of the last 6 events. He was born and raised about 1.5 miles down the street from the track, Bavarian, in front of a Bavarian crowd, and he's been on some roll. It's going to be his race to lose again today.
Johannes Lochner leads a mighty tight leaderboard. A third of a second from 1st to 10th tied. We've got Jan Verber and Rudy Rinaldi tied for 10th place. Quarter of a second, top 7. Anybody in that leading group could be in amongst the medals. Rudy Rinaldi tied for 10th ahead of Rico Peter, and look at that, 14th, a 3-way tie. Chris Spring in 20th position after the first heat, 0.7 of a second away from the lead. And behind him, Cody Bascu, Maciej Luti, and the rest of the guys do not make the second heat. One crash, Doron Grigoriev, Romania. Everybody is okay after that. 20 sleds going into the second and deciding heat, race 6 of the BMW IBSF World Cup. There is Oskars Melbardis, former bronze medalist on this track just a couple of seasons ago in the 4-man. And Francesco Friedrich with a chance of, I don't know, some redemption here, but he's out of the medals. Alexei Stilnev, though, in the bronze medal position, 100th ahead of Stephen Holcomb, who tied for silver yesterday. That's a tough position to be in for Stilnev.
Holcomb got a good start time. He's only 100th back. There's Lochner. A lot of family, friends. His parents are right down in front of us.
Yeah. Martin Putzer there with us. He's going to be training again for next season. And our start draw, we go 20 down to 1 based on your first heat performance. Both heats count, so it's the total time. Leading after the first heat is not enough. You've got to lead after the second as well. So Chris Spring, as 20th in the first heat, will be first off, followed by the Austrian Markus Treichel. And the last to go, the last 4, Holcomb, Stilnev, Walter and Lochner, will be deep in the battle for the medals. Race 6, the BMW IBSF 4-man Bobsleigh World Cup. Königssee in Bavaria, top 20 from the first heat go in reverse order for the second to decide the medals. Chris Spring of Canada just squeaked in to the race, missed the guillotine, finished in 20th place. He's first to go.
Well, decent start in the first run, a 4.89, 11th best start. This is a very good athletic team. They matched their start time in the first heat. Keep a track on the speed. That's at the 100-meter mark as you enter the first curve. Real important box score, as I like to refer to it.
Well, like his teammate Justin Cripps, the speed just fell off the sled without too many major driving errors down the straightaway and into the Jena curve.
Did pretty good last week in St. Moritz, but you know, again here, this 1:15.2, I mean, the best speeds were 117 and change in the first run. That's just what happened to him in the first run. He looks good, decent start. Just no speed down the track like his teammate Justin Cripps.
So the gouge is in the ice where the Romanian sled crashed about half an hour ago at the end of the first heat. 49.29, that's 1100 slower than his first heat.
speed, just not there. We're going to see 117 speeds, I would think.
Yeah. Well, we had the track record broken a couple of times in the first heat. We had it broken yesterday in the two-man as well.
Well, this is the exit of the S's, 4 S's, called the Snake Pit. And then down the straightaway. Well, it's not a straightaway, it's a bend away, and to negotiate through here, these 2 taps are the norm. It's the skid up above is what you want to avoid.
So Chris Spring and the crew go into the leader's box, at least for the moment. Markus Treichel of Austria made the cut. Second of our Austrian sleds. He's the young, upcoming driver. Well, not that Benny Meyer is exactly a vintage item yet, but he's following in his teammates' footsteps. First heat, 300s ahead of Chris Spring of Canada.
They had the worst start of the 20 sleds in the field, the 24th best start in the Heat 1. And for him to get down here to qualify with that 24th start, that's pretty impressive.
Part of the advantage for Markus Treichel of Austria might have been that he was very early in the start draw. 4th sled on the ice meant really good driving conditions.
Much better start, 300's better.
498 getaway, but that puts them behind the Canadians on the back foot as they get to the S's.
Listen to the sounds of these big sport utilities. That's not what you want to do there. 115 speed the Canadians had. This is 114.4. This is worse, but that skid had a lot to do with it.
Wiped off a lot of speed on the walls and down the straightaway. 1700ths of a second behind. It's not a major margin, but no speed on board now either.
Hey, him qualifying the top 20, he'll take it.
Yep.
He's going to his home track next week in Innsbruck. And, ooh, it looks like somebody lifted their head up there.
And a dress rehearsal for the World Championships, of course. The Canadians stay in the leader's box. 49.54 for Markus Treichel, around 4/10 slower than his first heat.
Chris Spring and the guys got something to be positive about.
They are, by nature, extremely positive. Just the results have been a little bit more negative than they would have liked. Markus Treichel won't go any lower than 20th.
Good crowd on hand. Look at the, you want to be to the right side of our screen. And he is. Nice line. Look at the exit out of these 4 S's. They call it the Schallengruber, which is the snake pit. And then you exit down into this bend away and you try and get through here without not hitting more than twice. And he's got the back end, front end, 4 hits.
Korea's Young Jung-won was in 18th place after the first of our 2 4-man heats. He slumped to a disastrous 16th position in yesterday's 2-man to lose the lead of the World Cup rankings. Can he fare any better in the 4-man?
They're saying that he will not compete in the 4-man World Championships here. He'll compete in the 2-man and then go home. But boy, after his result yesterday, 16th, and he won this event last year in 2-man bobsled on this track. And so, but I think the Koreans
whether they're not going to change their mind.
Yeah, because Koreans got a little spiritual issue going on right now. The guy won the event last year in 2-man and then finished 16th yesterday. So something going on in the Korean program that needs to be corrected quickly.
The other issue is they've not been driving their BTC sleds. They've been driving new Hyundai-built sleds. They don't know how to get the best out of them yet. Well, 500's in the lead.
It's a combination of BTC and Hyundai, and they've mixed it up pretty good.
Built with advice from Yanis Skratstins, but the mechanics that worked on their previous sleds no longer work with the team. It's all a little bit up in the air. 49.20, he does at least not slip any lower.
Yeah, he's 600 better in his second than his first heat. Start time was 200s different, or 200s difference. You know, respectable drive down the track, but you know, he was leading the World Cup 4-man race in Lake Placid. Since then, in the second run he fell to 5th, and since then he just hasn't had any kind of results. And, you know, look at him get in, get down, watch the arms come up. Look at the number 2 guy, very good precision, but they drift a little bit out of that. Watch how hard he hits this bump in the first curve. There's a better way to get through there. That's a big change of direction that wipes away a lot of speed.
He was taking a big steer in there. Well, at least he made the cut last week in St. Moritz. Didn't even do that. 17 sleds remaining in the second deciding heat, race 6 of the BMW IBSF four-man bobsleigh World Cup. We're in Königssee, Bavaria. At the line, Great Britain's labyrinth, the British Army Guardsman, 4x100 metre gold medalist from Athens Olympic Games, Mark Lewis Francis, with Andy Matthews and Tremaine Gilling in the team.
Really good athletes in this sled. Just perplexing why they don't have better starts. But this is team sport. There's no I's in teams. No matter how good an athlete you are on an individual track and field basis, you all have to get in, get down. 493, same as they had in the first run. Second best velocity, which is pretty good. Lamin did not have good lines here on the exit of the S's in the first run. Let's check this out. Almost a mirror what he did in the first run. He's got 1800s. This is much better lines in the bend away. Speed, 116.3, just like the Koreans who just came down.
He was 1300s up on the Koreans from the first heat. He's 1800s up now.
This is a much better run for Lamin Dean, who was so close to winning a World Championship medal last year in the Innsbruck track, which will be next week, when he crashed in the third run. Shocked everybody.
49, he nearly doubles his first round advantage.
Slower, so it's pretty much chalked so far in these first 4 or 5 sleds.
Yep. Nearly doubles his first heat advantage, 1300s out to 2400s of a second.
This team, though, should have better starts than they're getting. He's a little high there to watch him come flat. That's not the speed line out of the 4th S, and here it is. That's what happens when you come out too early, you're flat, you catch that early wall, and that erases a lot of speed.
Well, this might move him up into the top 10 in the World Cup rankings. Lamin Dean, the leader, with 16 sleds to come. Lamin Dean of Great Britain, the leader. His younger teammate Brad Hall in a 3-way tie for 14th after the first heat, despite having a right hand that he can't even close around the push bar.
Now watch his right hand, the driver, if they show it to us. It's all swollen up. He had surgery on it after a crash in Whistler. He cannot grip the bar. He's got to use his palm. See his right hand? He can't even grip the bar. Look at the way he's pushing off his palm.
Severed all 4 tendons in his hand. Still can't so much as hold a tennis ball. 487.
Let's look at the front of this sled. Ooh, hard hit into one. Look at the front left, something dangling
there. A bit of tape around
or something there, but when you're dealing with hundreds of seconds, and he's in a 3-way tie, right?
Yeah.
Well, 100th of a second is...
This is his first World Cup race of the season in 4-man.
And he came out of the 28th seed to qualify 14th.
Right after a 10-minute delay from a crash from the sled in front, so he really held his nerve, outdrove his teammate. He's still ahead of Lamin Dean by 1600s.
I think the British have a really good potential future with this guy.
Yeah.
This guy is, a little mistake in the graveyard section. Watch the back end here. No, he got around there okay. He lost some time at the bottom. 48.93. He goes faster. He's the first sled to go faster in the second run.
Pete Gunn, the coach, his last weekend on tour. He'll be heading back home.
Interesting to see what they do with the start times and the teams as they enter the World Championships. I think there's some great future for this Brad Hall. They've accelerated him into the front seat like they did with Bruce Tasker. Britain's got a collection of great athletes, but the mistake here in the graveyard, why it's the graveyard? You're going uphill. You can't tap anything in the last 100 meters going uphill. You should see the ugly right hand he's got there.
Brad Hall leads Lamin Dean. Great Britain 1-2, 15 to come here in Königssee. 3-way tie for 14th place. Current leader Brad Hall, Francis Loik-Kostage here, and Oskars Kibermanis of Latvia. One of a couple of ties we've got in our final heat.
He'll give up a lot of time in the start. 22nd in the first run with a 96. Really good at getting in. They're well schooled by their coach Bruno Manjon. 498, 200 slower. This velocity, it's 6 out of 6.
So that leaves them 1600s behind current leader Brad Hall. They were tied to the 100th of a second at the end of the first run.
Look at the lines, though. You know, he's a good driver. Lax at the start. Got great equipment. Bruno Mangione built equipment, runners. Mangione, the former world champion in '99.
Speed's not as good as the British sleds.
And that's because he gave up so much time at the start. He gave up over 1100ths to the leader,
And
Brad
at the
Hall,
moment,
to start.
he's going to drop a couple of places down to
Big
third.
speed
Now
on the bottom,
he's up
though.
to second place on the split times. He's coming back, but
Yeah,
not enough.
Not enough. So he ran out of track in the British. Brad Hall, congratulations to him.
Yeah.
There's Max Robert on the left. He's the former brakeman for Bruno Mangione, France. French aren't happy. Short 1,300-meter track. Well, it's not the super speedway that we had last week in St. Moritz. But
Not
here,
quite as short as Eagles next week either.
yeah, and it's 48-second times here. It was 105, 106 seconds in St. Moritz last week. 16 hundredths different, 16 seconds different in the time.
We're only spending 2/3 of the time on ice, and he makes the most of it here.
This is down in the 80-meter section of the labyrinths. Look at the back end of the sled. Do we see any runners airborne? Now watch the sled cross over to the take-on of the Kelstein, and wow, it's almost 80 miles an hour, 1,400 pounds, change of direction, a lot of G's.
Third sled in our three-way tie for 14th place after the first of two heats in Königssee, Bavaria. Oskars Kibermanis, the Latvian, who is having a standout season in two-man and in four-man. The Latvians didn't compete in North America. They stayed here on the European tracks. But since he's arrived, he's had 2 bronze medals in the two-man competition, and he won last time out in the four-man in St. Moritz.
Struggled down the track here. Probably one of the poorest drives. The best start, 486, very similar to his first heat. Exact same as his first heat. The best velocity, 57.4. And this guy won the event last week in St. Moritz. But that was a super speedway where you don't have to turn as much. Here, tight, quick turns. It's like Martinsville in NASCAR.
100th in the lead over Brad Hall. They were tied after the first heat. He goes behind to the Kreisel.
Speed's best speed though.
72.9 miles an hour compared to 72.3, but he's still in the red. Can he come back?
But this is where the Latvian sleds fell off yesterday, also in the two-man, and today it's the same thing in the four-man.
1100's back. 77.7 miles an hour. Speed is not enough, and he drops 2 spots. Lloyd Coster second, Brad Hall there, second right. He is the leader. Joel Fear on there on the right. The third fastest ever 100 meters by an English athlete he set in the summer.
Okay, this guy won the event last week in St. Moritz. Here, he's going to struggle to stay in the top 13. He's got the best start in the competition. Does that tell you how tough it is to drive a bobsled on this track? He hasn't figured it out yet. He's got 2 weeks before the World Championships, too. The Latvian sleds just don't have the speed on this track as they exit the Kreisel. The lines look fine, or is he steering too much? Well, I'm sure they'll be looking at video analysis and try to figure it out. Because
ice is also quite warm. Maybe they've got a runner that gives a little too much control. Canada's Justin Cripps is next up, 13th after the first heat, and after disappointing times, not making the cut in several of our last few races. Finally, Cripps has got a shot here.
Kirkpatrick, Lumsden, Coquell, this is a good team. 490 start in the first heat. Kirkpatrick, track and field athlete out of Cornell University. In, down, quick, arms up and down, and you drift, 489, better start. What kind of velocity? Don't see it.
5th place in Whistler in the four-man, the opening race of the season, their best result since then, barely in the top 10.
Bad skid, that's costly. He'll be lucky to get to 116 speed here, which the Canadian sleds have been suffering with the speed problems also, and he's 2 kilometers down.
Lead is down to 500s. He's now in the red, and as we saw from Chris Spring in the second heat, there is no speed to be found in the Canadian sled down here.
No.
He'll drop back. He's behind Lloyd Kosterg as well.
Boy, the Canadians have been pretty frustrated the last 3 or 4 weeks with their performances.
Down to 4th, and Brad Hall is knocking on the door of a top 12 finish.
In his first ever World Cup appearance in a four-man bobsled. after
hogging the leader's box.
And he's only running at 75%, Brad Hall, with that hand injury. Justin Cripps, he won in this event. He won on this track 2 years ago in two-man. So he knows how to get down the track fast. That's not going to help his efforts, especially that'll cost you a lot of speed. But down here, these are good lines. So
big steer in the labyrinth there in the first left, and that puts him into the wall there on the right.
That's pretty good lines.
Yep. He goes to offer his congratulations to Brad Hall. Eight sleds down, 12 to come. Race 6 of the BMW IBSF four-man bobsleigh World Cup. We're in Königssee, Bavaria. Martin Haven and John Morgan trackside watching the action with you as Switzerland's Rico Peter gets set to have his tilt at trying to make it into the top 10. Current leader is Britain's Bradley Hall, and the Swiss have 1400s in hand over Team GB from the first heat.
So close.
Bradley Hall pumping the chest up.
Well, this is the second place in the World Cup standings for Rico Peter at four-man, but he's had a disastrous European tour compared to what he did North America. 490 start, equal to the British, second best speed, but this sled had no speed.
Bumped up the first corner as well. That knocks the wind out of your speed before you get to turn 2. Okay, clean onto the bend away, 700s up.
And watch that's not good. Those are hard hits. 117 flat, though, is decent speed.
Is he going to still be in the green as he drops down into the labyrinth? It's going to be very tight.
Now it's going to be really close. And the Swiss sleds didn't have very good speed on the bottom of the track either.
Rocking and a rolling. Rico Peter's style is to hit everything inside. Top speed at the bottom. This will take the lead away from the Brits. It does by a whisker.
Good job by Brad Hall. Second from the right.
Yeah.
First ever World Cup. Finished like he did with an injured hand.
Enjoying their time in the leaders box as well. They picked off 4 sleds and may still rise up. They're only 500s behind Rico Peter, so any sled now will either likely beat both of them or neither of them.
I think Rico's going to fall a couple spots in the World Cup standings too. 8th in his track, St. Moritz last week, but a disastrous 15th to Winterberg to start. Well, they've had a little change in their team too at the last moment. Let the brakeman change out. Watch him get in, get down quickly. Drift to the right, though. No, that's pretty good. Watch the bump in the first curve. Yeah, you see that airborne there? That bump's tricky. That's home court advantage, figuring that out.
Brad Hall and his team all smiles as Rico Peter takes a narrow lead here in Königssee, Bavaria. Three-way tie for 14th has been broken. We had a two-way tie for 10th position. 2 of our first sleds out of the shed tied to the 100th. This is Jan Verber of the Czech Republic. He was the second sled out at the first heat.
Yeah, 487 start, 488 this time. Let's see what their velocity is. More velocities, sleds. Third best we've seen now in the velocities, so it's pretty good.
And Jan Verber's team outstarted Rico Peters as well.
17th, 17th, and 23rd so far in four-man bobsled. So he's got a chance to post his personal best of the year. A very experienced 10-year pilot from the Czech Republic. Oh, it's not a 600s. But he was good in the bottom part of the track in the first heat. Graveyard here.
Rico Peter had top speed there. 500ths of a second in attack. It's not going to be enough, is it? Oh, by 100th.
So the Czechs post their best finish of the year. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy than Jan Verber.
They were all full of smiles and chatty this morning when I was up at the top of the track, really looking forward to the race. I'm sure they had no idea it was going to be this good, but when you're first or second out, it's a great chance for a small team to do some giant killing.
Couple taps, third, fourth, but he's not trying to steer away, and he doesn't compound the problem. Lets the sled run and watch him come through the doodles, as the Canadians call it, the street corner combination, the labyrinths. Back right runner is airborne, and now the 1,400 pounds has got to transfer onto the take onto the Kelstein, and the back left runner is airborne.
Big smile from driver Jan Verber. They lead with 10 to come here in Königssee, Bavaria. 10 down, 10 still to come. Jan Verber leads by 100 from Rico Peter. Bradley Hall of Great Britain lies third. The fastest 10 sleds from the first heat still to come as we get ready to decide the medals in round 6 of the BMW IBSF four-man bobsleigh World Cup.
Beautiful pictures, stunning backdrop to where they put this track. It's just, you know, we just can't tell you. We're living in a dream venue.
Yep.
And we're going to be here for the World Championship for 2 weeks. You feel guilty? You feel guilty?
No, not at all. I'm sorry. Sorry, not sorry. It's such a great location, and the track just falls into this deep rift valley, deep in the heart of Bavaria. And I always say, you know, people say, what's it like, summer motorsport fans, what's it like doing this? I say, well, especially when you come to towns like Berchtesgaden, this sport, sliding, bobsleigh, skeleton luge, has been part of the fabric of this town for the better part of 75 years and more. And people have grown up with the track here. First there was a natural track, and then this artificially iced track was opened in 1969. It's a big sport in a small town, and they always make us feel so welcome here.
If you want to learn how to run a bobsled race, this is where you want to come. I mean, this is the home of the sliding sports, bobsled, luge, and skeleton. The International Bobsled Skeleton Federation is located right across the border in Austria, about 10 miles away, and the FIL, International Luge Federation, is right down the street, about 2 miles, their headquarters. There's the Czechs with Jan Weber on the right. They're the leaders, enjoying some quality time in the leaders box, into a very educated sliding sports crowd who really know the sport, really appreciate the performances by the athletes.
There'll be a huge crowd here as well in a couple of weeks when we get the World Championships underway. One more World Cup race before that. We go to Innsbruck in Austria, a couple of hours drive away. There, with the sun, the late afternoon sunshine now mottling the top of it, is the Grünstein Mountain, and that is Jena. And over to the left-hand side of that, you will find the Kehlstein. Jena is the big ski area, transmitter tower on the top there. The ski area is down the other side.
That's what you see when you come out of the Jena curve. You see that in front of you. That's why they named it Jena.
10 down, 10 to go in race 6 of the BMW IBSF four-man bobsleigh World Cup. Rudy Rinaldi of Monaco, first man out of the start house, and after a good two-man run, looking for a blazing four-man second heat.
I think Monaco's got something here. He had a terrible first heat, two-man, came sideways down the bend around, and then in the second run, he had posted the sixth best time to post his personal best. And here he's only in his second ever four-man World Cup race. He qualified last week. And it's impressive. Monaco
is definitely the young hope for Monaco, isn't he?
Well, those weren't good lines. Third in the Junior Olympics, or in Innsbruck in 2012, in two-man, 1:15.5 is not very good speed.
1400s behind, he's slipping away in this second heat. The ice is not as good as he had early on.
And he made that big mistake on the exit of those four S's.
Well, his only four-man result of his career was 13th last week in San Moritz. He's not going to be quite there.
Best time falls way by. Brad Hall is up to 13th.
Yep, sixth position at the moment for Monaco with 9 to come. So 15th you'd have taken in a field of 29 at the start of the day.
He made another mistake. He knows it. He just can't put two together both days, but this is a young, aspiring pilot for Monaco. Going to make Prince Albert and crew. I think he's flat here on the exit. This causes the skid. See that? We've seen that so many times. They come out of there flat and that back end gets away from them, and then don't try and steer out of the problem there. Just hit the wall and move on. This is what happens.
Disappointing to lose positions, but a 15th place finish is a big result for the young Monegasque. Benny Meyer had a big result here last year in the four-man. In February, he took the silver medal behind Max Arndt, who's now retired and ahead of Francesco Friedrich. Today, he is just behind Friedrich. Jan Verber of the Czech Republic on the right. He leads the race. With Benny Meyer ready to go for Austria.
You know, there's such cohesion needed in a four-man bobsled explosion. Then you got to get in that little bathtub, sit down, and get ready to present yourself with an aerodynamic profile down the track. But even though it's a short track, every 100th of a second is important.
492 start, little slower than their first heat, 489, but they get in so neatly they don't disturb the sled.
Look how straight this big sport utility's coming.
This is within 100th of leader Jan Verber.
116.3 is not the speed Weber had, but it's down to 100th. Watch out!
He was 500 up from the first heat. He's in the red. Jan Verber's going to stay in the leader's box.
This will be a big scalp for Jan Verber and the Czechs to pull off.
No,
he found a way.
He somehow gets it.
Oh.
Wow, I don't think the Czechs saw that
They aren't
coming.
happy.
Sigh of relief from Franz Josef Hoffmann on the right-hand side.
And Benny's father, Manfred, on the left in there. You know, they aren't happy. They used to go out and be happy to qualify for the top 20. Now they're not happy unless they're in the top 5.
Just added a few more grey hairs to his father's beard there with that performance. Benny Meyer, the leader, with 8 to come. And the man he beat last year next up.
Well, he did something right in the bottom. These were red numbers here in the exit. Now watch the transition here to the take-on of Kelstein. No runners are airborne. Maybe back left a little bit as it climbs the wall. Wow. Those pictures are unbelievable.
Busy track. Benny Meyer leads for Austria. 8 sleds remaining, and we get to our first German. This is Francesco Friedrich, man who laid waste to everybody in 2- and 4-man last season.
483, best start. First heat tied the best start. 481, that's the best start of the competition. The velocity, as expected, the best, but he was sideways down in the bend around and put himself in a no chance position. Let's see if I'm correct.
Tied for silver medal yesterday behind Johannes Lochner.
Much better. This could be 117 and change speed. 118 speed. First time anybody's cracked the 118-kilometer barrier, 73.5 miles an hour.
3,400 up now. This is going to try and put himself into the medals. The first heat was a loose shot that he shanked into the woods. This is right down the center of the fairway.
Listen to the crowd on this one. 48.80. Look at the coaches, Rennie Spies, Leo Leopold on the right, the longtime trainer. Now that was a good run.
2,800s faster than Benny Meyer. They were only 200s faster than Benny in the first heat. That's a big difference. That's a quarter-second improvement on what he did in the first run.
Look at the crowd.
Yeah, now they're smiling and waving the German flags.
Now the crossover here in the S's, these 4 S's, it's like when you're on the back of a 4-man sled here, it is unbelievable. Look at the difference, the speed.
Wow.
Look at Friedrich's speed, 2 kilometers better on the exit of this curve, even with that little slight tap, but he didn't try and steer away from the problem.
So is Francesco Friedrich now going to take a medal out of this 4-man race that seems so unlikely when he was 8th in the first heat? There are a lot of scalps that he needs to take, the first of whom might be Maxim Andrianov.
3 Russian sleds coming up.
Best result of the season, 7th in Whistler. He was, I beg your pardon, he was 8th in Altenburg. These are his top 2 results this season. He lies 7th now.
Well, going to give up a little time at the start, but this is a race within a race. The Russians are all pushing each other. They're all getting better every week. 491, that's a better start than he had the first run, and he had the 8th best start, 3rd best velocity. You'll probably see that of all 3 Russian sleds. They'll improve the velocity off their start.
Only 100th ahead of Francesco Friedrich after the first heat. He's now nearly 2/10 back.
That's related to the start.
And Friedrich was flying into the Kreisel. He's 1 mile an hour too slow.
Yeah, So the question is now, how many places is he going to drop?
2.5 Ks back.
The second.
Well, there's a big gap, 3/10 between Friedrich and Benny Meyer in second place. He'll fall in between the cracks.
These are good lines, and the Russian sleds are fast in the bottom. He's coming back. He's going to run out of track. Look at that. He took a 2,500 deficiency, and he rocketed it on the bottom part of the track to only 1100s down.
Yep.
He got beat totally by 1100s by Friedrich. Friedrich beat him by 2000s at the start over 2 heats.
Yep.
So this Andrianov and the Russians outdrove the German who's on his home track. Look at the lines, look at the G-forces, shake the heads. Couple pressure points in the cry zone, and the exit with a slingshot effect down here will give you the chance for big speed at the bottom. These are good lines. He was all Russian sleds.
Big hit
fast
there,
in the bottom part of the
still
tracks.
carried speed. Rose Wallner sleds like the Russians and Friedrich are using, very quick down the bottom. Top 6 after the first heat included Latvia's Oskars Melbardis, and he starts this heat just 2400s away from the leader. Just seen a big run from Francesco Friedrich, who was 200 slower than Melbardis in the first heat to put himself into the lead. Can Melbardis find the pace that he needs, or will Friedrich move up again?
This is the former world champion from last year. Back surgery in the offseason. He's only 80%. And they used to have the best starts. Now they're third best start in the first heat of 484. 4 huge men who could sprint here at 483. Let's look at the velocity. Second best velocity, which is the norm for him. But the Latvian sleds, we saw from Keeper Mattis, and in the 2-man yesterday, don't have good speed on this track, especially when you skid out of the S's like that. 116.4. He is 2 kilometers down to the German, who's got the lead.
BTC sleds were producing great speed last week on the longer, faster track in St. Moritz. Here, they're not using their aerodynamics well enough. 900s back, he's closing, but not enough. Not with 6th best speed at the bottom.
Out of track.
And again, skids off the final corner.
So Friedrich, well, he might live in the leader's box, a couple more sleds. It's so close. 5 sleds.
But listen, from Francesco up to the bronze medal was only 800ths of a second, John. So anything is possible in this group of sleds.
Boy, he just ran out of track. This skid didn't help. This is on the exit of the 4S's, which is like a Disneyland ride, those 4 curves. Then down here, this is where he started to accelerate. He had a deficit up there on the entrance to Kreisel of double digits. By the time he got to the bottom, he was only 400ths behind. So maybe this one Latvian sled found some speed down here that we hadn't seen. And then this skid at the bottom is right at the finish line.
That's 100 or 200,
right
just
there.
that,
Yeah.
just that error, and he made it in both runs. Francesco Friedrich leads. Is he going to finish in the medals? 5 to come, and they are racked up tighter than milk bottles here, like 9 pins. Alexander Kazanov, our World Cup points leader, 1 win, 1 silver this season.
Good start in the first run of 486, did it 45. They had good velocity in the first run, 3rd here today. Kazanov, I'm surprised, just didn't pull his magic on the bottom part of the track like he normally is. This is the World Cup leader.
3/100ths of a second faster than the current leader in the first heat.
117 and change he's going to have here. 169.
He found all his speed after the labyrinth in the first heat, and he'll need to do the same again. He's a 10th back.
Down. Yeah.
This is where the Russians really hit the top speeds. 125 needs more.
He's going to run out. It's going to be 1 or 200ths in the red.
Unbelievably tight. 200s back. Friedrich moves another step closer to a medal.
Still got 1 Russian sled to come yet, though.
Kazanov second by 200ths. Top 3 now covered by 400ths of a second.
Look at the frustration.
We're talking margins here that would be considered tight in a 100-meter race.
Well, these are good lines here. This is into at the finish. Look at Kazanov's speed. It's only a 1/10 of a kilometer, but when you're dealing with a couple hundredths of seconds, that's important. And he taps there, what we call the graveyard section. World Cup leader. I don't know if he's going to stay the World Cup leader.
4 to go. Now it's going to get real. Stephen Holcomb, bronze yesterday in the two-man race after the first heat, tied for silver. He is 100th out of the medals here, with 3 sleds still to come behind him. Holcomb again needs a big start, and he needs once more to work some magic on this new for this season BMW 4-man.
Carlo Valdez, Jimmy Reed, and Sam McGuffey in the back gave him a pretty good start in the first run, 8th best start. 87, gonna need at least in the 80s to have a chance here. Anything around 87 will give Holcomb a chance to medal for the 2nd consecutive day. There's the 87. Watch the velocity. Top 3? Yes. Good entry in the sled by the team. Holcomb, well, all he does is drive.
Friedrich was just 700ths, literally the blink of an eye behind him in the first heat. Holcomb's back.
600ths. Now he's going to need that 118 speed down here to catch Friedrich. No speed at all. But Holcomb does find lines on the bottom of this track. That's what he did yesterday. Here he comes. Now he's down to 12.
1200s back. The gap grew in the labyrinth. Where will he be? Is he going to get any closer?
Oh, it's going to get close.
Only the 7th top speed, and at the line, he beats him. How did he do that? How did he do that?
How did he do it yesterday with the 19th best start? Now his team's giving him a decent start time. Hey, boy, the Bavarian crowd respects this guy. Watch, he's going to go high-five the crowd. Watch this. Look at him.
Wow.
People love him here in Bavaria. I can tell you that. They have such respect for a guy on a short 1,300-meter track. He just finds time when everything looks like there's no chance. He overcomes a double-digit deficit in the last 200 meters. Look what he does.
He was behind into the final corner. He was ahead out of it. 1 turn. 3 to go here in Königssee. It has been a mad week. And this is just the warm-up for the World Championships. We've got to do this again in 2 weeks' time over 4 heats. Alexei Stulnev of Russia, top Russian in yesterday's two-man race.
Never has won a World Cup medal. Might be the biggest heat of his competitive bobsled career. And he's been coming on. He has been emerging as Russia #1. He's another guy that manufactures speed on the bottom part of the track.
Winterberg 2 races ago, he was 4th in the two-man, 5th in the 4-man. That was his best ever race weekend.
Well, he's still got 200s lead. Him and Holcomb are bookends.
4th place yesterday in the two-man, just eased out of the medals.
Anything above 117 speed, 116.4, same as Holcomb, but at bottom part of the track, him and Holcomb are in a class by themselves.
Too close to call. 600.
That's a skid there.
Can he hold it together through Ecoband? High in Echo.
600.
Oh, disastrous speed. 124.3. Is he going to hang on for a medal? He is. Unbelievable. Same speed, same time as Stephen Holcomb. The 100th he had from the first heat is what keeps him in the lead with 2 to go.
Wow. Well, I mean, what do you say? The last 2 sleds separated by 100th. What do we got going on here? I mean, wow, every picture tells a story, but he had some skids down here on the bottom of the track that took his 600ths and gave Holcomb a chance. This looks a little back end high, a lot of pressure on the nose of the sled. Transition, the next curve down past, here it gets too high here too. Look out the height there. Taps in the graveyard, well, needed one more tap. First medal ever. Congratulations, Alexei.
And what color will it be? 2 sleds to go. Here's a man who needs some redemption, and boy, does this team have their back to the wall, and that's where they came out like Butch and Sundance with all guns blazing. Nico Walter, 1400ths of a second off the lead in the first heat.
Struggled all year. Needs a good start. 43 in the first run was the best start. 41, they tie the best start. Great velocity, 3rd best velocity. Got a great team behind him, people who know how to ride the track, and you need to ride the track. You can't act like a sandbag here.
Broke the track record in the first heat, and he will need to do it again to win gold.
Driving a brand new FES sled. Only had 2 trips in it this week. Took 2 trips also with his other older FES sled. Good speed, 1:16.8.
Gaps coming down from 14 to 13 to 9 over Stulnev. Is Stulnev going to pick off Nico Walter as well? Walter leads into Echo. Needs big speed, better than Stulnev. That should be enough to take him into the lead with 1 to go, and it is.
Stulnev, Germans celebrate. And boy, there's nobody happier than this Bavarian crowd, beyond the coaches, than Nico Walter. He has been slumping. He's been behind the 8 ball with what he calls the equipment. And brand new FES sled delivers him to the promised land.
We will have a German winner. Will we have a German 1-2?
Boy, sigh of relief for Nico Walter. No one's been more frustrated than he has in the last month of the season. And the lines here on the bottom part of the track, well, how does he get through the labyrinth? We're probably going to see some runners airborne here. Yeah, back right. Look at the spray coming off that, but he didn't get airborne there.
1 medal in 4-man this year for Nico Walter. Silver in Winterberg.
Now here comes a guy hotter than
Hotter than a hot thing on a hot day. Johannes Lochner blew the field away in the 2-man race yesterday. He wants to double up today.
He's won 4 of the last 6 races. 2 2s, 2 4s. This young 26-year-old phenom, born about a mile down the track here. Father, mother, family, friends looking on. He has just emerged. Friedrich was the big German hope, and now this kid comes out of nowhere, and boy, it's his race to lose right now.
Oh, what a beautiful exit from the S's. The gap is down to only 500ths. He was 1400ths up in the
big speed though.
Quicker than Nico Walter. He'll still have the lead into the labyrinth.
This is a lot of time.
Beautiful run.
He had dinner with his father the other night, Hans. His uncle Rudy won the silver medal in Albertville.
Going away to win by 2/10 like he did yesterday. A quarter of a second clear.
He's won 5 of the last 7 races. We weren't even talking about him as the top German dog before the season. I think he's arrived.
1-2 for Germany, as they had yesterday. Johannes Lochner, the double winner. Yesterday, Friedrich took silver with Stephen Holcomb. Today, it's Nico Walter who takes silver. And Alexei Stulnev of Russia gets his first ever 4-man medal, his first ever World Cup medal. Boy, I don't know how big the crest of a wave these guys are riding right now.
It's a great story too. Heinz is like his godfather, bought the 4-man sled for him earlier in the season. We met him the other night, and he's great story. He lost his son early in life, became the godfather for Johannes, and then told us how he went out and just bought the 4-man for him.
Yep.
And all he's done is win the last 3 4-man races. Come on. This is like a
what a head of steam they've got, and they can't lose in 2-man either. This is his 3rd 4-man win of the season, and he took his 2nd straight 2-man win yesterday.
Boy, he's from Bavaria. He born and raised a mile down from the track. World Championships are here. He just won double gold on this weekend.
Yep.
Boy, a lot of pressure going to be on him.
Johannes Lochner by a quarter of a second from Nico Walter. A big day for Walter and his team, and for Alexei Stulnev, what a huge day. First ever World Cup medal. Stephen Holcomb fourth by 100th, ahead of Francesco Friedrich, who climbed back up the order ahead of Alexander Kasyanov. Big day too for Brad Hall, for Rudy Rinaldi. Disaster again for Yoon Jong-won of Korea. Dear oh dear, there is a lot of different stories to come out of this one before we get to Innsbruck next week. But again, drama of the first order here in Königssee.
So second place beat third place by 100.
Yeah.
Third place beat fourth place by 100.
Yeah.
Fourth place beat fifth place by 200s.
Fifth beat sixth by 200, sixth beat seventh by 200s. These are margins that in a 100-meter Olympic final would be considered very tight. And we're talking over 2,600 meters of ice.
Well, personal bests across the board. Stulnev, his first ever World Cup medal, and boy, has he been coming on for the last 3 weeks.
Yep.
But how about Brad Hall?
Yep.
How about...
Great story from him. And of course, yesterday, Great Britain won the Junior World Championships in women's bobsled with Misha McNeil and Mika Davis, her brakewoman.
Rudy Rinaldi, if he puts two trips together, he's in the top 10. I love,
and Jan Verber, 10th place result for the Czech Republic.
That's the best result for them in this Olympic quadrennium.
Draw. Yeah, absolutely. Great start draw helps, but you know, you've got to capitalize it. Could give me their start draw and I wouldn't be in the top 10. So some really big stories all week here. And like I said, this is just limbering up looseners for the World Championships. 2 whole weeks of competition with a backdrop like this. I know you feel sorry for us back home, but we're going to brave it out, John.
I see Hans Lochner down congratulating his son, the team. Great.
Do you know what?
Great to look at this.
Hans is here, his dad. I'm sure Rudy will be around in the World Champs.
Rudy is
down there as well,
will be there. Yeah, Hans is right there. He's just got done. Looks like he's got a little tears in his eyes.
Really? Double win in Bavaria for the Lochner family. Hans was a brakeman as well for Rudy early in their career together. But as the older brother, he had to go and run the family business. Be a grown-up, he said. Confirmation of changes in our World Cup leaderboard. Johannes Lochner up to second place ahead of Rico Peter. Alexander Kasyanov still leads despite what was only a 6th place finish here, and Alexei Stulnev in 4th place ahead of Stephen Holcomb by, look at that, 6 single points. That's what the difference was. His first medal. Lamin Dean in 11th ahead of Chris Spring, and Oskars Kibers Manis and Mel Bardis are both moving up the order. Yoon Jong-won of Korea slumping down to 17th place in 4-man after losing the 2-man lead yesterday. Will they actually go to Eagles next week or not? I'm not sure. Brad Hall's first 4-man race, and a great result for him as well, finishing in 12th spot.
Boy, does this set the stage for the World Championships here in a couple of weeks.
We're going to need some beta blockers because we can't handle any more of this.
I don't know if I've ever seen a hotter German driver since Christoph Langen or Andre Lange. This young 26-year-old is with the brand new sleds, and his godfather bought him this 4-man sled right before the season, and all he's done is been electric. 5 out of the last 7 races. That's dominance.
Well, Max Arndt had a streak here in the last 2 or 3 seasons. 3 out of 4 starts he won. And I wonder if we're going to see the same kind of performance. You mentioned Lochner already at his tender age, in the same breath as greats like Langen, and 4-man Max Arndt. And who knows, he may go on to equal and surpass some of the records that they have set. But of course, this is turning into a bit of a golden era for German bobsledding, because Francesco Friedrich, double 2-man world champion, and a race winner in 2 and 4 this season. And Nico Walter, once he gets his head around the FES equipment, then he again is going to be challenging for medals every single day. 2 weeks out from the start of the World Championships here in Königssee in Bavaria. and we have had an edge of the seat, nervous, exciting, thrilling weekend of racing. And if that doesn't serve to make your mouth water, I don't know what does. Alexei Stilnev there with the beard receives the flowers first. Bronze medal for him, his first ever in World Cup racing. Big day for the Russian, who's been knocking on the door. Finally, he kicks it open to take a medal. Silver for Nico Walter. Spoke to him last night at length, with Kevin Kuska on the left and the rest of the boys. Spoke to him again this morning. Have fun. Yes, I hope so, he said. Well, I think they did. You know, you back a team into a corner, metaphorically, and suddenly they come out all guns blazing. Big day for Team Nico Walter. And for Johannes Lochner there on the right, Joshua Bloom with him, Matthias Kargehuber, and Christian Rasp, who was in a crash with Johannes earlier in the season, still got quite nasty burns as a legacy of that. They take the gold medal. A fantastic result at the end of a fantastic weekend for the Bavarian. It's not just a German win. In fact, down here, they wouldn't even say it was a German win. It's a Bavarian won, a German was second, and a Russian was in third position. And that is it then for the World Cup in Königssee. We head next week to Innsbruck in Austria, and then we are back in a fortnight to start the World Championships on this most prestigious and thrilling of tracks. Join us then. In the meanwhile, from me, Martin Haven, from John Morgan and the rest of the IBSF TV crew, thank you for being with us. Same time, same Bats channel next week. We'll be back in Austria.